These fuzzy gray animals are native to Australia, and they spend most of their day sleeping in the shade of engineered trees with cool metal roofs.
Heat in the winter. They give them misters in the summertime when the temperatures get really high.
Lisa Martin has cared for koalas at the San Diego Zoo for years. The facility houses the largest breeding colony of koalas outside of Australia, and it's been an eye-opening experience.
They can move fast. I didn't recognize it. They can jump horizontally 6 feet, and I did not recognize that they're not always cute and cuddly. They have their own personalities as well.
Koalas also have an endemic health issue. A retrovirus has inserted itself into the animal's DNA, making the marsupials susceptible to a number of pernicious cancers.
Almost all koalas are infected with one or more koala retroviruses, and this viral infection is a problem for koalas because it predisposes them to develop some very specific secondary diseases.
Specifically, lymphoma and leukemia. Because the animals are good at hiding illness, a survival trait developed in the wild, caregivers typically don't realize an animal is sick until the cancers are advanced. Those diseases are untreatable in koalas.
I and everybody on the team have struggled with the devastating effects of leukemia and lymphoma in our population. It can strike animals as young as 2.5 years old. And it's heartbreaking.
Cora Singleton hopes understanding more of the marsupial's DNA will allow wildlife officials to better manage koala populations. That requires knowing more about the retroviruses and where they might be located in each individual's DNA strand.
Whole genome sequencing, while it was available just a couple of years ago, was very expensive and very time-consuming. And so it wasn't within our reach.
But San Diego-based Illumina says what was unattainable a few years ago is now in reach.
Since that very first human genome sequence that took 10 years of a global consortia and almost $3 billion to put together, our latest sequencing platforms, the NovaSeq X, can do 48 genomes in 2 days or more, and the price point's about $200 for a whole human genome.
The speed of processing, combined with the falling cost, has already resulted in sequencing of more than 90 koalas. Illumina is working to broaden the species database by sequencing tissue from both living koalas and from koalas that are long dead. They use tissue samples stored in the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance's frozen zoo.
Because when it comes to understanding the consequence of a genomic sequence, you really need both large numbers of genomes to tease out, when you have an A mutated to a G or you have a certain gene disrupted. It's a lot of information, so you need many samples to make a conclusion about the consequence of that DNA change. You also then need to have it coupled with the clinical information.
And the zoo's Cora Singleton says her team has that clinical information.
Every koala in our care, we know its parents, we know its grandparents, we know its great-grandparents. And that's a really important part of this project, looking at the ancestry of these koalas.
The retroviruses cannot be excised out of an animal's DNA, but understanding which DNA variations exist in an individual increases the ability to manage the animal's health. That is invaluable.
We're hoping to be able to use the information that we learn from the genome and the specific places where the koala retrovirus is in the genome to understand which koalas would pair together and produce the most healthy and resilient offspring.
That can help minimize the risk of illness in a captive population and even allow conservationists to be better stewards of wild populations in Australia. The DNA information could inform the movement of koalas between the continent's discrete populations. Erik Anderson, KPBS News.